Hello Umbrella Academy fans, and welcome back to Nerd Doc. With Umbrella Academy Season 3 right around the corner, it's time to take a look back with a quick recap of Umbrella Academy Seasons 1 and 2. We have Season 3 coverage planned for the release of the new season, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. There are chapter timestamps below, so you can jump around to either season. You can also find a link to our breakdown of the Season 3 trailer in the description below. If you have any questions about the first two seasons, leave a comment and we'll respond as best we can. Season 1 begins with the event that started all of this mess. At noon on October 1st, 1989, 43 women around the world gave birth simultaneously. The catch is that not a single one of them showed prior signs of being pregnant. Billionaire Sir Reginald Hargreaves adopted 7 of the children and turned them into a superhero team and surrogate family known as the Umbrella Academy. The Umbrella Academy consists of Luther, number 1, or Space Boy, who has super strength and durability. He was once a normal-looking superhero, but after a mission went sideways, his body was injected with gorilla serum to save his life, which altered his appearance, turning him into a half-gorilla, half-human hybrid. Diego, number 2, or the Kraken, is highly skilled at throwing knives and close-quarters combat. Allison, number 3, or the Rumor, is a successful actress with the power of persuasion, able to manipulate people by saying, "I heard a rumor," then following with whatever she wants. For instance, if she said, "I heard a rumor, you're tired," the person would fall asleep. Klaus, number 4, or the Seance, has the ability to speak to the dead, communicating with ghosts. Number 5, also known as the Boy, once had a name, but it was never used to the point where everyone forgot what it was. He has the ability to teleport short distances and also time travel. When he was 13 and still inexperienced, he got stuck in the future. It took him 45 years to figure out how to get back, but doing so reverted his body back to the way it was when he was 13. He is now a 58-year-old mind in a 13-year-old's body. Ben, number 6, or the Horror, has the ability to possess monsters from other dimensions under his skin and use them to attack enemies. This usually manifests itself via a tentacle protruding from Ben's chest. Ben died before the events of Season 1, so now only Klaus can communicate with him. Vanya, number 7, the White Violin, didn't showcase any powers initially and became somewhat estranged from the rest of the team. As it turns out, Sir Hargreaves was giving her medication to suppress her powers because he feared them after she accidentally killed 2 nannies. He even had Allison use her powers to convince Vanya that she was just an ordinary person. This led to a lot of childhood trauma. By the end of the first season, it is revealed that she's actually the most powerful member of the team, with the ability to release destructive force waves from her body, or channeling this power through another object such as a violin. The team resides within Hargreaves' mansion, living with an android called Grace that they consider to be their mother, Hargreaves as their pseudo-father, and an intelligent, talking chimp named Dr. Phineas Pogo, who serves Hargreaves and acts as a mentor and confidant for the team. After Ben's death and Five's disappearance into the future, the team breaks up and everyone goes their separate ways. They reunite when Sir Hargreaves dies and discover that the monocle he always wore has gone missing, causing Luther to think he was murdered. Five finally returns from the future and warns them that the world will end in 8 days. In the future, Five saw the ruins of the mansion after the apocalypse with a prosthetic eye as a sole clue as to what may have happened. As the only surviving human due to his time travel, he befriends a mannequin he calls Dolores and ends up falling in love with her. Decades later, he's finally rescued by the Handler, who wants him to work for an organization that exists outside of time known as the Commission. The Handler wants him to be one of their time-traveling assassins tasked with keeping the timeline on track, killing anyone that threatens to alter the timeline. If you're a Marvel fan, this is kinda like the TVA and the Loki series. The Commission uses briefcases with time travel technology inside them. They have a number of agents just like Five who travel through time to protect the timeline, which includes protecting the pending apocalypse. Five breaks his contract early and uses his own time-traveling abilities to warn his family of the coming apocalypse so they can stop it from happening. This causes the Commission to send agents Hazel and Cha-Cha after Five, who also go after Five's family in an attempt to find him. The agents capture Klaus, who escapes and uses their briefcase to travel back to 1968, where he takes part in the Vietnam War and falls in love with another soldier named Dave, who dies during the war. Over the course of the season, it's discovered that Diego had the monocle, which he took from Grace in order to protect her. Diego didn't want the rest of their family thinking their mother had something to do with Hargreaves' death. Klaus has a drug addiction throughout the season, unable and unwilling to use his powers to communicate with his deceased father. He eventually cleans up and speaks with Sir Hargreaves to discover that he reprogrammed Grace himself and took his own life in order to bring the team back together to stop the coming apocalypse. Before the events of the season, Vanya released a book that revealed many of the Umbrella Academy's secrets. This caused a rift between her and the rest of the family, so she ended up leaving. Throughout the season, Leonard Peabody befriends Vanya and establishes a romantic connection with her. It's later revealed that Leonard was born on the same day as the other heroes, only through normal means and without powers. However, he thinks he also has powers and should be a member of the Umbrella Academy, idolizing them in his youth. When Sir Hargreaves publicly humiliates him, he loses his mind a bit and ends up killing his father and going to prison. When he gets out years later, he finds Sir Hargreaves' journal that depicts Vanya's real powers. Leonard gets close to Vanya with the intention of using those powers to destroy the Umbrella Academy from the inside. Leonard hides Vanya's medication, causing her powers to finally surface. During this process, Leonard loses an eye and replaces it with a prosthetic eye, the very same one that Five finds in the future. With Vanya's powers unleashed, she ends up slitting Allison's throat, although she survives, and killing Leonard, before going back to the mansion to see the rest of the team and being locked up. Vanya escapes and destroys the mansion, leaving it in a similar state to what Five saw in the future, only since things have changed due to Five's involvement, Leonard's eye isn't there since he died before making it to the mansion, and the rest of the family is still alive. Vanya goes to her orchestra performance where the rest of the family engages her. Vanya nearly defeats them when Allison fires a gun right next to Vanya's head, startling her and freeing the team. Unfortunately, this also causes Vanya to accidentally fire off her powers into space, which hits the moon and causes massive moon rocks to rain down on Earth, causing the apocalypse. Five takes immediate action, grabbing the rest of the family and traveling back in time as the season comes to an end. Season 2 is a direct continuation of the first season, with Five sending the Umbrella Academy back in time. Unfortunately, Five still hasn't perfected his time travel abilities, so the team ends up scattered throughout Dallas in the 1960s. Klaus arrives in 1960, Allison drops into 1961, Luther ends up in 1962, and Diego lands in 1963, with Vanya and Five also appearing at different points in 1963. Five quickly learns that yet another apocalypse happens, assuming he brought it back with him from 2019. Now he must gather up the rest of the family to stop a second apocalypse. With the team scattered about, they each start a new life in 1960s Dallas. Some of them believe their stay is permanent, while others are merely waiting for Five to inevitably figure out how to get home. Klaus becomes the leader of the Destiny's Children cult, with Ben begrudgingly along for the ride. Klaus tries to convince his former lover Dave not to join the army, but it backfires and he ends up joining even earlier than before. Allison gets caught up in the civil rights movement of the time, getting married to Raymond Chestnut, one of the leaders of the movement in the Dallas area. Eventually, Luther and Klaus show up and cause some issues with her new marriage. She eventually tells Raymond about her powers and the fact that she's from the future. Luther gets work as hired muscle for the gangster Jack Ruby and fights in underground boxing matches for him as well. He assumed this would be his life moving forward until he runs into Five and the rest of the family. Diego thinks of himself as a man of honor and dives headfirst into stopping the JFK assassination that occurred in September of 1963. His enthusiasm, we'll call it, eventually lands him in a mental institution where he meets Lila Pitts, who becomes his girlfriend. While the two of them have feelings for one another, Lila lied to Diego about her intentions. As it turns out, Lila was born on the same day as the Umbrella Academy and has powers of her own. She has the ability to mimic anyone else's powers, but can only do this one power at a time. She also happens to be the adopted daughter of the Handler, the person in charge of the commission, and it just so happens that the Handler sent Five to kill her parents. Lila eventually brings Diego back to the commission in hopes that he would work there, but after he uses their resources to find out that Vanya is the cause of the apocalypse, again, he ends up going back to Dallas to help the rest of the team. Vanya gets hit by a car as soon as she arrives in Dallas. This, coupled with the events at the end of Season 1, causes Vanya to temporarily lose her memory. Sissy and her husband Carl were driving the car that hit Vanya, so they take her in, and Vanya helps out by serving as a nanny to their autistic son, Harlan. Eventually, Vanya rediscovers her powers and even uses them to save Harlan's life when he almost drowns. This also transfers some of Vanya's power into Harlan, creating a connection between the two. Throughout the season, Vanya and Sissy fall in love, much to Carl's dismay. Five arrives in Dallas in the middle of the second apocalypse, with the entire team fighting off a Russian invasion as a nuclear bomb goes off in the distance. Just as things look hopelessly lost, Agent Hazel from the Commission shows up and takes Five back in time in hopes of preventing the pending apocalypse. Throughout the season, Five has to find and unite the family while also dealing with himself, only a past version of himself that has yet to be stuck in the body of a 13-year-old who was working for the Commission, tasked with taking out JFK. Don't worry, he doesn't kill JFK, and instead, this is the point where he figures out how to jump forward in time to warn the Umbrella Academy of the first apocalypse at the start of Season 1. At the end of Season 2, the Handler and Lila, with a number of agents from the Commission, face off against the Umbrella Academy at Sissy's farm. Vanya takes down most of the agents while the team cleans up the rest, but not before the Handler kills all of them except for Five. Clinging to life, Five manages to travel back in time to just before the Handler kills everyone. Five stops her, and the team uses one of the Commission's briefcases to travel back to 2019. Unfortunately, this is an alternate version of the 2019 they originally came from. During the events of Season 2, they reached out to Sir Hargreaves for help, allowing him to learn about the future and his team of superheroes. This may have inadvertently changed the future, because when they get back to the mansion in 2019, they are greeted by the Sparrow Academy, a new team of heroes that live in the mansion. This is where Season 2 ends and Season 3 begins. That wraps up our recap of the Umbrella Academy Seasons 1 and 2. If you have any questions about specific details in the first 2 seasons, or how they lead into Season 3, leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with someone who loves the Umbrella Academy.